Hi, welcome to You.
Me.
And CV. I'm Mike.
I'm Gia.
And today we're going to be talking about the very first episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians is a reality TV series created by Ryan Seacrest. Season 1 premiered on E! On October 14th, 2007, and the show just completed its 16th season.
It's streaming on Hulu, and the title of the first episode is I'm Watching You. Ooh. All right, hey, let's start it off with that Hulu description. So here we go. This is the Hulu description for the series. Keeping Up with the Kardashians takes viewers inside the hectic lives of Hollywood's modern-day Brady Bunch. Can two famous clans come together as one united front? Or will their individual lust for the limelight end up fracturing the family? Oh, man. Whoa. Well, hey, this is different than what we usually talk about on this podcast.
It's our first reality show.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, we talk about first episodes of TV shows, but usually it's like sitcoms or, hour-long dramas and things like that.
But Keeping Up with the Kardashians is a reality show that kind of has like a sitcom-like structure, at least in the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been keeping up, you might not know that. Or if you've only seen the show in the more recent seasons, or if you feel like you don't care about the Kardashians at all. I don't understand that, but I know a lot of people feel that way. It's actually a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
At least the first few seasons were.
Yeah, so I think that, this is a TV podcast where we, talk about TV shows, but we talk about each other, we talk about us. But, we're going to look at this. You're a fan of the show. You love the show.
I am. Yes.
I've seen a lot of the show, but we're going to look at it as a TV show, which is, what it is, not just a reality series about a show, family we may or may not care about. But yeah, so hey, let's talk about that Hulu description there.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. It references the Brady Bunch in there.
Yeah.
Because it's got two families coming together. You got the Kardashians and the Jenners.
Yeah, it's really like playing up that blended family angle in that Hulu description. But I feel like the show doesn't really bring up the fact that it's a blended family all that often.
Well, they leave out a lot of Bruce's kids, don't they?
They sure do, yeah. Well, Caitlyn. So let's get into who these two families are real quick. So the two families are the Kardashians and the Jenners. So the Kardashians, if you don't know how these people got famous in the first place, the family kind of rose to prominence in the early 90s. That's when they got into the public eye because the patriarch of the family, Robert Kardashian Sr., was one of O.J. Simpson's defense attorneys. He was also a friend of O.J.'s during O.J.'s murder trial. Yeah,
and if you've ever watched the People vs. O.J. Simpson American Crime Story, that's played by David Schwimmer.
Yeah. So, and that show is essentially a prequel to Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Right. Is David Schwimmer playing an Armenian in that show?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Problematic casting, maybe
a little bit. I don't know.
I think he did a good job. I mean,
is he might be a little ethnic. I'm not sure. I'm a little ethnic, but it would be weird for me to play an Armenian. But I think I don't know. You know what? Speaking of,
I think like 10 years ago it might have flown, but maybe not so much today. Anyway, so yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's just kind of, speaking of that, I mentioned Caitlyn Jenner earlier. Speaking of things that, I don't want to say the wrong thing or anything.
Right.
So Caitlyn Jenner, you want to explain that? I mean, we know who Caitlyn Jenner is. I'm assuming we all know who Caitlyn Jenner is, but just the way we would, address her or talk about her.
Yeah. So Caitlyn Jenner is a transgender woman. So throughout the podcast, we will be referring to her as Caitlyn and using female pronouns. But for the sake of clarity, we just wanted to point out that when the pilot episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians was filmed, that was several years prior to Caitlyn coming out as a transgender woman. So she was going by Bruce Jenner at the time and presenting as male. Yeah. So just so you understand what's going on screen.
There we go. Yeah. So we'll say Caitlyn from here on out.
Yeah. So that's the Jenner side of the family, but let's get back to the Kardashians.
Right.
So Robert Kardashian Sr. Was the attorney in the OJ trial, and that's how he and his family kind of got into the public eye. Now, he's not actually in Keeping Up with the Kardashians because he passed away in 2003, but his wife, Kris Kardashian, later Kris Jenner, kind of became like a socialite, and so did her children, especially her daughter Kim Kardashian, who before she got super famous, before the events of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, she was like a celebrity stylist and like a wardrobe consultant.
And she would also be kind of hanging out with people like Paris Hilton.
Yeah, because that's
Lindsay
who she
Lohan.
was a stylist for.
Okay.
Yeah, for the two of them, and also Brandy.
Okay.
Because, so notably, Kim also was kind of famous for a sex tape that was leaked with Brandy's brother.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Ray J.
Yeah, Ray J. Yeah. So those are all the things that this family was kind of known for before Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
And that's, we were kind of talking like people may or may not care about this family. So when this show came out, I remember it was like, well, for one, I didn't watch it when it came out. I didn't even know about it when it came out. It was like, because this came out right around the time we started dating.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit later when I was like more just kind of hanging out at your place watching TV, and you would throw this on. And I was like, who are these people? What is this show?
Yeah, it's people who are famous for being famous, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what the show's criticized for.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But that's like, there were a lot of shows at the time that were kind of like, I mean, even Paris Hilton, she's part of the Hilton family, like the hotels and everything. But
but she had this Simple Life, that show.
And she was all over everything. I remember like wondering like, who is this? I was in high school. I didn't know who it was. Because she was like dating the singer from Sum 41, which is a band I was into. And I was like,
suddenly they're on TV. And so I guess you're supposed to care about them.
Right.
I don't know.
So it's like this whole, 2007, this whole culture of celebrities that are just, people. This is before Instagram and all that, where you had just like regular people that, not regular people, but, people that weren't actors or whatever becoming famous. So,
yeah. So that we covered the Kardashian side of the family. And so there's Robert Kardashian, who'd passed away, then his wife, Kris, and their kids, Kourtney is the oldest, then Kim, then Khloe, and then Robert Jr. And then so Kris had gone on to marry Caitlyn Jenner, who was also famous as an Olympian, like an Olympic champion.
Right, yeah. I never heard of her, but our parents knew.
Yes,
they
our
all
parents
knew.
did.
I figured it was probably like a Michael Phelps kind of situation where like everybody knows who Michael Phelps is, but like 10 years from now, our kid's going to know who Michael Phelps is. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
But he was like he competed in the decathlon, whatever that means. I think it means there are 10 events. I don't know what 10 there are, right? That's what deca.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so Caitlyn and Kris, and then Kris's 4 kids from her previous marriage, and then Caitlyn and Kris's 2 daughters, Kendall and Kylie Jenner.
Right.
That's who the show is centered around. Now, Caitlyn also had 4 kids from 2 previous marriages, but they're not really on the show too much.
Cool.
Okay, so sorry for that complex family tree.
That was a lot of family treeing that we were doing just now.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into how this became a show.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a quote here from Ryan Seacrest, who's the executive producer.
Here, I'll go ahead and read the quote here.
Okay.
It says, Kris was interested in doing a television show, and this was in the time that the Osbournes was popular. I'd seen the Osbournes and thought to myself, because I had formed a production company, I thought we should find something in this vein. And at the time, we had heard that Kris was interested in doing something with the family. So it was me and one other guy at the company. We had no idea it would become the monster pop culture business that it is. And that's Ryan Seacrest in an interview with Access Hollywood. And they sent a camera crew out to film the Kardashians just having a family barbecue, and they showed the tape to E, and the show was picked up based off of that.
Yeah, they just thought these people would be fun to watch.
Now, that's not part of the actual pilot, though, right?
No.
Yeah. So that would be the official, like if you were to say,
pilot.
Yeah, that's kind of like an unaired pilot, which is kind of cool because a lot of shows, I mentioned that, in addition to the family tree of the Kardashians and all that backstory and stuff too. I want to look at it as like a TV show, and that's kind of cool. Or it's just like this unaired pilot type of situation. It reminds me of things like, I feel like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has like an unaired pilot.
Yeah, Full House, which we covered. So the pilot episode was originally
with a different actor in the role of Danny Tanner. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool that it comes together like that.
Yeah. So we've got a quote from Ryan Seacrest that I think kind of speaks to why this show appeals to me and why I think it appeals to the people who do like it, because again, it gets criticized a lot.
I'll read that one there too. It says, at the heart of the series, despite the cat fights and endless sarcasm, is a family that truly loves and supports one another. The familiar dynamics of this family make them one Hollywood bunch that is sure to entertain. Seacrest out. That's weird that he ends his quotes by saying Seacrest out.
I feel like you ad-libbed that.
No, that's you have it in the notes
here.
The
notes. It's not in there.
No, he definitely said it at the end of I can get the audio because it's from okay. No, right. I don't think he still even says Seacrest out. I remember the first.
Is he still on there? Is that still a show?
American Idol?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was canceled and then it got picked up by ABC.
Like a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There was like no break in when it was on.
Right.
I remember though, I used to watch American Idol. I was into it. And I remember the first time he said Seacrest out, and I remember looking, I don't know if my mom was there because I would watch it with my mom, and I remember just being like, what did he just say? Why did he do that at the end of that? Anyway, but he's like the creator, executive producer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
But I think that quote really speaks to kind of the enduring appeal of this show, is that they're like, obviously these are real relationships. This is an actual family.
Yeah.
And you can tell that these people really care about each other, and also they have a lot of fun, and it's fun to watch. And if you started watching it at the beginning like I did, you kind of get like hooked into these people's lives. Like, I care what happens to the Kardashians. I really do.
Well, I don't, but I think that I mean, when you come up with an idea for a show, it's like the idea is not necessarily it's a show about the Kardashians. Why should I care about this? I don't care about the Kardashians, but it's not. That's not the idea. The idea is that, family, no matter how rich you are or, whatever, or if you're just a regular family or you're a blended family, or whatever, if your family they all come in all shapes and sizes or whatever, it's still people helping each other out, people caring about each other. Yeah. It's beautiful.
That was a really nice little speech.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I felt weird about saying a regular family. It didn't feel like the right thing to say. So I tried to fix that. But it's like, I watch dumb stuff too. I watch professional wrestling where it's all fake. Yeah. But it's not about that.
Right.
It's deeper.
Yeah. And so you had mentioned, no matter how rich they are, they're still a family, which is an interesting point, because if you were to tune into the 16th season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which just finished airing, these people are ridiculous rich now, and the show is pretty much just them sitting around in their mansions, wearing really insane makeup and outfits that no one wears in real life because they're so elaborate and require all kinds of people helping you get ready every day, and they're just sitting there on their Instagrams, basically.
Right.
But at the beginning of the show, it wasn't like that at all. It's these people were wealthy, but
they looked like a normal rich family.
Yeah, they looked kind of an upper middle class family that you could know in real life.
Well, because California is totally different too. The millionaires are a little bit, more middle class probably, I guess.
So it was more of an attainable or an imaginable level of wealth that they were living in.
And one thing too is that you mentioned those later episodes that the current seasons, they seem to cover, and I know they probably still have little plots throughout, but they seem to cover stuff we've already heard, it's
in the news, or
she's got pregnant or whatever. She got pregnant, and it's telling that story. But this was all fun little sitcom plots in this first season, because we watched pretty much the whole first season to kind of prep for this. And but let's should we talk about the opening? Should we get into the opening? Or no, we want to talk about, we've got a quote here from this is kind of like what we were just talking about, this quote from Quartz, I think, on the episode structure here about It says they wanted to show off their privileged, this is from Carolyn Seed from Quartz on the episode structure of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. They want to show off their privileged lifestyle and maybe get into one or two minor family squabbles before ultimately wrapping things up with a monologue that reinforces the importance of family, and which is what we were kind of talking about there. Which is
so it's a reality show, but it's like kind of like scripted, like there's like a plot outline that they're sort of following.
And that structure there, you could say the same thing about like the Goldbergs or whatever. Not the privileged lifestyle, I guess, of the Goldbergs, but this idea of a couple of family squabbles, get a monologue at the end, hit them in the heart, boom, in the heart strings, not
right. So there's really like a sitcom like feel to the show at the beginning, even with the title Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Some people might not even realize this because Keeping Up with the Kardashians is now like so a part of the culture, but that title actually comes from an idiom, keeping up with the Joneses. Right, yeah. Yep, which means like kind of like competing with your neighbors, like for socioeconomic status, like stuff like that.
Did you read? I was reading one of the it was like an oral history of Keeping Up with the Kardashians on the Hollywood Reporter, and they were talking about the origin of the name of the show. I don't know if you saw that. They were like, we had a few ideas. There were things like the Kardashians, crazy with a K, or like those crazy Kardashians, and like they all sounded terrible. And then I think it was one of the producers, I'm not sure, but they were like, do you got any ideas? And he's like, I don't know, I've been so busy keeping up with the Kardashians that I don't have anything. And they were like, and then we knew we had it, which sounded like a fake story to me, but whatever. That's apparently the origin of the name. They were too busy keeping up with them and recording episodes and everything that they so but hey, let's talk about the you want to talk about the theme music, but let's get into the theme music in a second. One thing that I think is interesting, we were talking about how this first episode it focuses on an anniversary party of Caitlyn and of Kris, and but there's a lot of these first season episodes that hit on these sitcom tropes.
Because like having an anniversary party for the parents is something you see in sitcoms. Like there's an episode of Boy Meets World you might be familiar with.
I'm totally familiar with it, where they throw like a rave but then realize it's the same night as their parents' anniversary and they got it covered all up. Oh man.
So that's what's going on in this pilot episode, but also later on in the season we'll just like quickly touch on some other sitcom like plots that happen. There's an episode where they hire a hot nanny, and that causes some tension between Kris and Caitlyn.
There's a pregnancy scare at one point. They take in a person who's homeless, which they do on an episode of Growing Pains. Growing Pains, by the way.
And I feel like they've done it on other shows
too. Probably.
Definitely an episode of Growing Pains.
Growing Pains is streaming on Amazon Prime, by the way. So if you don't know that's on there, oh my gosh, hit that up.
But those are just a few examples of things that are like common themes in sitcoms that also happen on the Kardashians.
Right, yeah. So hey, let's should we talk about the opening and all that kind of stuff?
Let's get into it, yeah.
All right. So it starts off, there's a exterior shot of their house. Although you were saying that it's not actually their house when they show the outside.
I think I remember them saying at one point that all the exterior shots of houses on Keeping Up with the Kardashians are like not really their houses, because it would be like a security concern if like everybody knew what their houses looked like. But then the interior shots actually are their houses.
Okay.
So supposedly that's the case.
But it's like a nice house, but not
like insanely.
It doesn't
nice.
look like it just looks like a normal big house.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna say? We got
then the first scene is just inside the house.
The first scene, I feel like it establishes it's everybody's like joking about Kim Kardashian having a big butt.
Yeah.
That's like, which I remember that was a big thing about this show. They were like, oh, she's got a big butt. Like,
that's one of the things she was known for.
Yeah.
Having a big butt.
It seems normal sized to me.
It doesn't seem crazy, but yeah. So her mom, Kris, and then her sisters, Courtney and Chloe, are all kind of teasing her about her big butt, telling her to stop eating because she's got a photo shoot in the morning. Kris is like, I think she's got a little junk in the trunk. And Kim's like, I hate you all.
That opening scene, we mentioned that it's like a reality show, but somewhat scripted. I mean, it felt like they're like, it's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm or something, which I don't think the show is anything like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but you could just picture the producers or whatever being like, we need you guys to just talk about Kim's butt while she's getting food out of the refrigerator.
I think this is essentially like improv, right? Like the whole show is like them improving.
because they
like,
know what it is they have
life.
to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of reality shows are that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like now, even though it's still improv, the show, the current seasons, it's less like we need you to talk about this situation. It's more like we need you to
Kim's butt.
But yeah, now it's probably more like we need you to talk about this real life thing that's happening in more of a serious way, and instead of we need you guys to joke about Kim's butt. So but yeah, so that's what starts off, and then we get this opening sequence where we hear the theme music. Do you want to sing the theme music for us?
Well, before we even get into that theme music, we've got like kind of an intro to the family.
Oh yeah,
where they Kim is like, "Welcome to my family," and then she there's like clips of everybody as they all kind of like basically tell their roles in the family. And so we get Kim saying that she's the princess, Chloe saying I'm a bitch, but I always have my sister's best interests at heart. Courtney says I'm the oldest and most mature. Chris says I'm the mom and Kim's manager. Say what you want, but I know what's best for my kids and my husband. Then Caitlyn says I'm a pushover for my family up to a point. And then Chris goes on to explain that she and Caitlyn have Kendall and Kylie together. And notably, there's no little intro for Rob.
Oh, poor Rob. He's in there, though, but he doesn't get to say anything about himself.
No, and that made me really sad for Rob.
So that's kind of how they introduce all the characters to the audience.
I think that's just in this pilot episode.
Oh, I think so. You know what? I'm not... Yeah, we watched the other ones. I don't think it was any other ones. But that's kind of like that. That's an interesting structure for a show where it does seem like we're supposed to know who these people are because it's a reality show about their life, but we don't. So they tell us.
Yeah. So now we kind of know everybody's place in the family. And so then we get into the opening sequence, which is like you were saying, it's like this hokey, like whistling music. No, I'm not going to do it.
You can't do it?
No, our fans asked us not to sing anymore.
I can't whistle, so I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not a great whistler.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of the music from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, it's similar to that. Or like Leave It to Beaver is kind of what it reminded me of.
Right.
But yeah, very like hokey sitcom.
So they're playing up that sitcom aspect.
Yeah. And so what's happening while that music is playing is like the whole family is like posing for a photo shoot. And they're looking for Kim. And they say she's always late, and then she kind of runs in and like takes center stage in front of her family with like a model pose, and they're all posed in front of like a backdrop of like a big city, and then that city falls away and you see that exterior shot of their house. So it's like revealing that they have just kind of a suburban life, like you could relate to.
Right. Yeah. And then the next scene, we're in the living room of the Jenner household there, and the family is discussing Caitlyn and Chris's upcoming anniversary party. They mention all the friends that they're inviting, because that's kind of, it's interesting that's mentioning, sort of the event that's going to happen at the end of the episode. And also we've got, they point out Caitlyn's got no friends except for Chris's friends, kind of being a stereotypical dad. Yeah. So we see
Caitlin's
that in there.
Just kind of along for the ride. And I think Rob too, the brother Rob, who didn't get any sort of intro.
I don't think he has many lines in this first episode either.
He doesn't. Yeah. No. So it's kind of like you get the sense that the men are kind of on the sidelines of the family.
Yeah. It's all about the women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next part we see in the kitchen, Chris tells Kim that she's booking her for an appearance on the Tyra Banks show.
Yeah, which I had forgotten was a thing, the Tyra Banks show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's on anymore.
No, I don't think so. It was one of those daytime sitcom or daytime talk shows, kind of like Ellen, but not as prestigious, I guess, as Ellen.
No.
Yeah. More like the Wendy Williams show, maybe?
Yeah.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah, probably similar to that. And so Kim's excited because it sounds like this is going to be like her first like TV interview. But Chris is like, there is one issue, and that's that you're going to have to talk about your sex tape. And so Kim is nervous about that. She really doesn't want to have to deal with that. But that's kind of like the terms. That's why they're inviting her on the show is to talk about that. So Kim ultimately decides, like, at least I'll have an opportunity to kind of take hold of the conversation and put this in the past. Yeah. So she agrees to go be on Tyra, but she's nervous about it.
They really talk about sex tapes in a lot of different ways that they do now. I feel like now, well, people, I mean, it's a little different because there's not physical tapes and things like that. But now it's like a celebrity was hacked and their nudes were leaked, and they're going to file charges against the person who hacked them.
And the celebrity is, like, nowadays rightly seen as like a victim.
Yeah.
But whereas like back when this pilot was airing, like I remember celebrity sex tapes being like scandalous. Like, how dare this celebrity have a sex tape? Like,
right. Although they still say that when people get their phones hacked, they're like, they should have known better. Why are they taking naked pictures
but
anyway?
I feel like not as much as they used to. But there was like some hardcore slut shaming going on back when this pilot was filmed. So it's really sad that Kim is even being made to like go and like answer for this sex tape.
But then again, too, that's kind of like what she was known for. That's all like, I mean, why else would she be on the Tyra Banks show at this point?
Right.
So, but
yeah.
But we talked about, it's like a sitcom in a way. The A story is the anniversary party.
Yeah.
But then there's this B story. Actually, there's a C story too, I guess. I don't know how those exactly work, but there's 3 different stories going on, and we'll get to that third story too. But there's the second story all about the sex tape and the Tyra Banks show. And then there'll be a third story we'll talk about when we get to that too. So I think it's interesting having the multiple plot lines going on, because you would think, oh, it's a reality show. They'll just kind of, follow the family around. But there's at least 3 pretty solid storylines happening in this first episode.
Yeah. And I feel like after this pilot, the storylines get even more solidified. Like this pilot is a little bit rough in the editing and stuff. I think they end up doing a better job of that after the pilot.
But there's also like story arcs that go throughout the season. And some of them are from this very first. I mean, really, like, because we'll get into it a little bit more, but this idea of the sex tape and Kim dealing with this newfound celebrity, that's kind of going on throughout the season.
Definitely.
As well as the third story we'll talk about. But then also this anniversary party, there's some little details in there, but some of the tension between Chris and Caitlyn is sort of an arc throughout the season as well. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back to this sex tape thing and how the culture around that has kind of shifted so much from 2007 to now, the sort of Me Too era where we're not so much into the slut shaming. Fortunately, that's one of the things that makes it so fascinating to me to like go back and watch old episodes of these reality shows, is to see how much obviously like fashion has changed and like technology has changed, but also how much the culture has changed from now to then. It's really interesting to look at. So anyway, the next scene is
in the Jenner living room. Kourtney and Kim are sort of practicing for that Tyra appearance. And Kourtney is pretending to be Tyra Banks in this situation, doing a little role play. And she asks, why did you make the sex tape to Kim?
Yeah, and Kim's just like, because I was horny and I felt like it, which is probably not what she actually said on Tyra, but I think good for Kim. That should be all the answer she needs to give.
That's all she needs to say.
Yeah.
And we, in our notes here, we already talked about some of the slut shaming stuff. So let's jump to the next scene and meet some of these other characters here. So we've got Kourtney, which we talked about before. Did we talk about Scott yet?
No, we haven't gotten
Lord Disick?
Lord Disick, yeah. This is his first appearance in the episode. So the next scene is Kourtney and her boyfriend Scott on a date at a restaurant. Kourtney is telling us she and Scott were friends for about a year before they started dating. And so in the scene, they're just kind of fighting a little bit because she wants to check her phone while they're eating, and he thinks she shouldn't be on her phone at dinner.
It's another scene where it feels like fake fighting.
Yeah, they like...
They're like, we need you to fight about...
smiles on their faces while they're fighting. And Kourtney, I feel like, is maybe the worst actress of all their Kardashians. She like doesn't seem to... Really,
yeah, probably.
She's always kind of smiling, and it doesn't always seem to match what she's saying.
So, but we got Scott in here, and Scott Disick, which I'm assuming he's sort of kind of rich, but not like probably maybe not. I don't know if he's as rich as them, but like he's not as rich as they will eventually become.
I feel like his family is from like the Hamptons or something.
Okay,
something like that.
Sure.
I think that gets addressed.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think they do go visit his like childhood home though, and it's not a nice house or something.
I can't remember.
I don't know, but anyway, he's a normal-ish guy though, who's in this relationship with Courtney. And he's still a member of the cast.
I feel like he's a breakout star. I love Scott Disick.
People love Scott. People think he's hot too, which I don't fully get that.
No, I don't think he's hot. I don't think he's like unattractive.
He does seem very nice. But he's also
he's nice.
We'll find out
funny.
later. He's got his own demons as well.
He does.
Yeah,
for sure. And those are really played up a lot in the first few seasons, and then they do get to be more kind of a serious tone because he does have some serious problems, and the show eventually gets into some deeper issues. But yes, he's also a very funny guy. He's got a great sense of humor, and some of the best lines that come from the show are Scott Disick quotes. I feel like one thing that makes me really upset is Scott Disick does not have his own Wikipedia page. He just has like,
oh really?
Yeah, a mention on Courtney's page. It's very upsetting to me. He deserves better.
Well,
hashtag justice for Lord Disick. It's a long hashtag.
Don't tweet anything out that hashtag. That's stupid.
So anyway, that was their little fight at the restaurant that we're not convinced was a real fight.
Well, there's one point where like the waiter says like, I've got your chocolate souffle, and Courtney goes, we'll just take the check.
Yeah, because she's so upset with Scott, supposedly.
So the next part though, we see the store where the Kardashians work. They own their own high fashion boutique called Dash, and which is like Kardashian.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
So yeah, Courtney, Kim, Chloe, they own that store together. They all work there. Do you think that they ever actually worked in the store? Because in the first few seasons of the show, we see them actually working in the store a lot.
Well, I think that she probably did, because they say it's like a high-end fashion and style, and she was like a stylist for people. So I think that even if they weren't like working the retail front desk, they were probably pulling in orders for the people they were working for.
But do
and
you
stuff.
think even after the show started airing, because I feel like the first few seasons we're seeing them working in the store?
I think they still might have worked behind the scenes at the store. They were still running. It's a business.
But they're working
running
at the front desk.
Yeah, they probably weren't doing that.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, the girls and their mom are all working in the store, and just kind of chatting. And then Scott walks in, and Courtney like pulls him aside and like confronts him about how she was shocked by how he was treating her on their date last night, and she's really upset.
And I think like it feels like the purpose of that scene is to show that there could be tension between the two of them, but also it made him seem not very likable to the other family members, like to Chloe.
Yeah,
and so
they're overhearing the conversation between Courtney and Scott.
Because we're gonna see some tension between them a little bit later on. It's kind of like we've talked about on shows before, Saving the Cat, where you have a character that you need to find a way to make them relate to the audience and be likable. So you might have them save a cat, for example. I feel like this part right here, that fake fight and everything, is sort of the opposite of that.
They've got Scott supposed to make us like
be like,
dislike
yeah,
Scott,
make him question his
like
motives a little bit.
We're throwing Scott under the bus, kind
a
of
little
thing.
bit, yeah, because he was like too likable, and they needed to have that tension in there.
He's a very likable guy. He's a very like gregarious. He's someone I would like to hang out with. Yeah. So as Courtney and Scott are kind of arguing in the store, and ultimately they like make up pretty quickly. But as that's going on, like Chloe is overhearing the conversation, and so is Chris, the mom, and they're both like kind of clearly disapproving of Scott. And Chris actually, she gets a little talking head. I don't know if we mentioned this yet, that they're like talking heads where they like pull the characters aside and like they tell us what they're thinking and feeling. So Chris is telling us that she is skeptical of Scott and Courtney's relationship because she has found out that Scott is cheating on Courtney, but she doesn't know how to tell Courtney that. So, wow, Scott must be awful.
Oh my goodness, which I don't really believe that either, that she doesn't know how to. She doesn't know how to tell her. We see in there that Chris is very outspoken and tells pretty much what's ever on her mind. I mean, she was talking about Kim's big butt in the beginning. But that's the plot that they set up there. So now we've got Scott's been cheating. And Chris knows.
So that's that C plot that you were talking about
That's that
earlier.
C story plot. I'm not sure if they go. I don't know if that's even the right way to use it. I know A and B is like a thing, but I'm not sure if C is a thing too. I think
that's acceptable.
Okay, we'll take it. So everybody's got like a story going on here, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, there's even a slight other. Well, this goes along with the anniversary story, but we see some stuff with Caitlyn going on here.
Yeah. So like while all this stuff is going on with all the women, basically Caitlyn is. We just see a little scene of Caitlyn at the barbershop getting her hair cut for the anniversary party, and she's just kind of chatting with the barbers, talking about her family and what it's like to have little girls, because again they have Kylie and Kendall Jenner, who at this point are like preteens. And so Caitlyn says they love their daddy, and then they hit about 12. Then you know what happens? Your wife hits menopause. See, that's the life of a male right there.
Yeah, I think that's... well, it's interesting, too, that he paused a little bit. They love them, and then... they hit 12, then they don't love you anymore.
Yeah.
And then also your wife hits menopause. Right. And everything's terrible.
Right. Yeah. But it's a really interesting quote in light of, watching it back now and knowing that Caitlyn later transitioned and became a woman. Because she was talking about what is the life of a male is like. But we now know, based on her interviews, that she never really felt like a male. She has always felt like a woman her whole life. And I do remember around the time that Caitlyn came out, which was in 2015, by the way, and she had done some interviews. And I remember at one point her saying that she kind of felt like she was being made to play a role on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like the role of like the traditional like dad figure who's like, just kind of wants to go play golf and is kind of out of touch with what his wife and daughters are doing, just kind of living on the sidelines of them, and how that it didn't really feel very good to be playing that role.
Yeah, because he really does, or Caitlyn comes off here as being not like an uncaring father.
Definitely not uncaring.
But definitely someone that is like just kind of there.
Just going with the flow, like whatever.
Yeah. Just like a TV dad would be.
Yeah.
A TV dad that's more just kind of like...
just there.
Yeah, just there.
Yeah.
Just letting the kids do whatever, getting angry or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Caitlyn saying that was one of the things that ultimately caused a big rift between her and Kris Jenner and the Kardashian girls. There's, currently some... If you haven't been keeping up, again, how many times am I going to say that? But there's some drama between them today. And that's one of the reasons is because Caitlyn was resentful for the role she felt she had to play on the show.
Well, and Caitlyn had a book out, too, at one point that I feel like there was tension with the family on that. Because Caitlyn and Kris are no longer together. So, I should mention.
They're not.
Yeah. And but they had been together for 16 years at this point, and that was their anniversary party they were getting ready for. And the next scene, we'll see Kris and Kourtney are at a wine shop sampling some different wines for the anniversary party. Now, this is a little confusing as far as continuity of this making sense, because the party is in like 2 hours or something.
Something like that. And so they're tasting wines that they're supposedly going to bring to the party. And then they end up like switching to hard liquor.
Yeah. and then they get kind of drunk. Yeah. And so when they show up later to the party, they're a little drunk already, and
late. The party is already underway. The party for Kris is underway.
Which, just to be critical here, there was no reason for them. They don't like show up to the party and they're not like, whoa, hey, they don't like cause a scene or anything. There's no reason story-wise to get them drunk at this point. And there's no reason story-wise for them to be picking out the alcohol for the party that's already set up and ready to go.
Did they even bring in any wine when
it didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
That's weird.
So that's where, again, I feel like the sort of editing is a little sloppy, and I feel like that gets better as the season goes on. But anyway, so the party has already started.
One thing, too, I noticed in that part when they were tasting all the different liquors and everything, I think at one point, Kris, she says... I don't think I've ever had whiskey before. Have you ever had whiskey?
I've just tasted it, and I hated it.
I feel like that's the thing, though, that, like, because Kris, I feel like she's I don't know if she's close in age to our moms, but she feels like that, that's, and like, I feel like that's a thing that mom age people say. Like, like I feel like our moms have said things like that where they're like, I've never even done, it's like, what? You've never had whiskey?
I remember when our moms came down to Mom's Weekend at OU. And we like took them to the bars and we were going to order drinks for them and they both wanted a slow gin fizz.
Yes.
And so I had to go like walk up to the bar and order 2 slow gin fizzes. And I just remember the bartender giving me like this look of confusion.
I had never heard of a slow gin fizz.
Me neither. It's definitely like a drink of a bygone era. Yep. So that was interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the drink choices of the other generations.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what that made me think about. But yeah, anyway, the next part, they're at the Jenner home for the anniversary party. We mentioned that Chris and Courtney show up drunk a little bit.
And late. Kim is also late and she shows up wearing Chloe's dress, and Chloe's kind of like telling her she better not ruin that dress.
Spoiler alert, she does ruin the dress.
She does ruin the dress, of course.
And I want to say here too, that little story, that feels like, because it's completely inconsequential. There's no reason for her to have ruined the dress. It's like a very thin dress that doesn't even look like real when I see it tearing. But what I think is interesting, though, is that that's like another sitcom plot. I feel like I've seen maybe even Full House. I don't know.
I feel like there is an episode
where
of Full
they
House
borrow
where
the clothes without
Stephanie
asking.
Stephanie ruins DJ's sweater.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I felt like they were like, we just need more of that. Like there's no reason for it in there.
Yeah. And also like I am skeptical of Kim wearing Chloe's dress just because Chloe is probably like 8 inches taller than Kim.
Right.
I don't think they could wear the same dress. It doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
So I don't believe that was actually happening, but that's what they say is happening. Also, I wanted to point out when Kim walks into the party, she walks in with her a girl she describes as her best friend. Now, throughout this series of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, a lot of people come in and are mentioned as being like Kim's best friend, and we've like never see or hear from them again. But so this best friend she walks in with is a girl named Brittany Gastineau. I don't know if that name is familiar to anybody, but Brittany Gastineau had her own reality show at the time called Gastineau Girls.
It was like Gastineau Girls.
Yeah, it was. I think the title was like a play on Gilmore Girls. But Brittany Gastineau and her mom, I guess, were also socialites. I think the dad was like an NFL star or something like that.
Oh, should I know that last name? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, maybe. But they had a show from like 2005 to 2006 on E! So I think this was like some cross promotion between the shows, because the name Brittany Gastineau like pops up on the screen when she walks in.
I think we looked up Brittany Gastineau on Instagram to see,
because her verified account.
Yeah, her show did not succeed, but is she still like out there being an Instagram celebrity? And didn't seem like it.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Kim, why aren't you helping out Brittany Gastineau?
That's your best friend. Oh man.
Yeah.
But speaking of some of those shows that were on E! At the time, I remember, I don't like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's not a show that I watch on my own or enjoy, but I know it would always be on, like back when we were right out of college, we would, I would like stay at you lived with we both lived with our parents. So, cause it was like
right after college.
Yeah. And it was like during the recession, nobody had any jobs or money. And so like, I would like stay at your house for the weekend and we would throw on just the TV when we're hanging out in the room, and just like we'd have on E! And I'd be like, oh, Kardashians, whatever, I'll watch it, whatever. But then like afterwards, like Chelsea Lately or whatever her show, I think it was Chelsea Lately around that time, like 2009, 2010, and then like The Soup with Joel McHale.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a good lineup. I mean, I don't know if that was the exact lineup, but that's like what would air or whatever, just like late at night.
It was enjoyable television.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chelsea Lately, one of the frequent panelists from Chelsea Lately, this comedian Heather McDonald, she's a guest at this anniversary party that's going on.
Because she's on E! Or are they like friends?
They are friends, and I kind of remember there being like a rift between Chelsea Handler and Heather McDonald because of the Kardashians, like because Chelsea was making fun of them, something like that. So I feel like there was like a falling out there somewhere along the line.
Drama.
But anyway, yeah. So she, just to give you kind of like a sense of the level of celebrity that the Kardashians are involved with at this particular point in time. Yeah. So we had Heather McDonald is at this party. Also, Robin Antin.
Robin Antin was there? No.
Robin Antin, the creator of the Pussycat Dolls.
I don't even know what
there.
That means.
Yeah, I don't 100% know what it means to be the creator of a band. I guess it's like Lou Pearlman was
the one. Yeah, he created all those boy bands. And the Pussycat Dolls also had like a Vegas show and everything too.
So I think she's like a choreographer. But yeah, she's at the party. I didn't notice any other celebrities in any of those shots. I don't know if you did, but those were the ones I had written down.
We are using the term celebrity pretty loosely here.
Yeah. But anyway, so the gift that Kim got for her mom and stepfather is a stripper pole in their bedroom.
That's a weird gift to get for your mom.
It is.
Her mom is not like, I mean, she's not super old, but she's like in her 50s or 60s at this point, right?
I imagine. But she looks good. I mean, Chris looks great.
But I mean, stripper pole seems like
a lot of work.
A lot of work. It's not, that's people do workouts on those things.
Yeah, but that's the gift she got. So that's, I think, similar to that scene where we saw Chris and Courtney getting drunk and coming to the party late. It's just kind of establishing like what this family is like, that they're very loose and kind of playful and wild.
Right.
So yeah.
Kim, Robin Antin, creator of the Pussycat Dolls, shows Kim some moves on the stripper pole.
Yeah.
And then Kim does some moves on it. And wow, Kim Kardashian doing some moves on the stripper pole. That's exciting.
Yeah, although she rips
I was about to say
Chloe's dress.
Bummer. She rips Chloe's dress.
I wonder what's gonna happen. Spoiler alert, nothing happens.
Nothing really happens. I don't even, does Chloe even see that? I
don't think so.
We see like a talking head of like Chloe saying like, if she rips my dress, I'm like literally gonna like murder her in the street or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But they also show, and this comes up a few times, like Kylie dances on the pole.
Yeah, Kylie again is the youngest sister.
And they come back to that in some later episodes too. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here.
She does a good job. Like she knows she seems to know what she's doing.
To comment on that.
But it's very uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn comes in and is not happy to see Kylie on the pole and like carries her away.
Right.
Yeah. And so also at this party, Kendall and Kylie are like mixing cocktails.
Oh yeah,
At
one point in the opening credits or one of that opening scene when they introduce themselves, we see them like pretending to drink behind the wheel of a car or something like that. I think there's something like that going on.
They are pretending.
Yeah, they're pretending. Yeah. A side note too: the Pussycat Dolls come in like in a later episode too. I remember seeing them at least once or twice.
Yeah, because Kim does a show with them.
Yeah. So what else we got here? We've got they talk about Caitlyn and Chris, how they met each other. We see a nice speech by Caitlyn. Yeah,
Caitlyn gives a nice little toast to her wife, and they do show a picture from their wedding of the two of them, and also all of the kids that they had at the time, their respective kids, and that's the first time that we see that Caitlyn has these 4 other kids.
Right.
We don't hear any mention of them, but we see them in a picture. So it's kind of weird that they're not at this anniversary party.
It is a little bit.
I think at this point in time, Caitlyn didn't have the greatest relationship with her kids from previous marriages. I think over time, she has grown closer to them from what I can tell. But I wanted to point out one of her kids is Brody Jenner, who was a star of The Hills.
Okay. Is The Hills, are they bringing The Hills back? I feel like I saw they're bringing that back.
They are. But that was another reality show. That one was on MTV. It was the Laguna Beach spinoff.
Yeah.
And Brody Jenner was dating Lauren Conrad.
I think it's interesting that I remember everybody being like, why is this Kardashian show even a thing? These people are just famous for being famous. But Laguna Beach and The Hills had been on
those
for...
Those people weren't even... famous
right,
at all. It started.
And those shows, those were on when we were like in college. Like those have been around.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Weird opinion.
It was a weird time in pop culture.
It was. Hey, one thing I wanted to point out too, when Caitlyn is giving that nice speech about, being together for 16 years and everything, you notice that she's a really good speaker. Well, I noticed that she's a really good speaker, which makes sense because that's what her job was at the time. Basically, she was like a motivational speaker, and Chris
after
managed.
having been an Olympian.
Yeah, and Chris was managing Kim and also managing Caitlyn there. Yeah. So I did notice that in there. I was like, wow, that's you could see how she'd be a good motivational speaker there.
She is good at that. So as far as other things that are going on at this anniversary party, Chris sits down with Scott.
That third plot we got going on.
Yeah, and she's she's like talking to him about how it seems like maybe he's a little too young for Courtney.
And Scott's a little he's a little looser than everybody in these like scripted sort of fake conversations, because when she says you're a little too young for Courtney, he's like, what are you trying to pass me off to Kendall or Kylie or something like that?
Yeah, so Scott is a funny guy. He's like really good and quick-witted.
Right, yeah.
He's got a lot of like good one-liners like that. But so I guess he's just like, he's 4 years younger than Courtney, and he's 24 in this pilot episode.
Chris does say that she thought he was 22.
Yeah, she did.
But he's 24 and Courtney is 28.
Yeah,
not really a big age difference.
Yeah. And also she's like asking Courtney, like, at 24, do you think he's really ready for a monogamous relationship? She's kind of like dancing around the issue of him having cheated, but that seems like a stupid point. Like, at 24, is he ready for a monogamous relationship? Because I was 24 when we got married, and it didn't seem like that young to me.
No, and most relationships, are monogamous, whether you're 24 or you're like, in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah. So everyone's kind of like, what is Chris doing? Everyone's just kind of annoyed with her for like seeming to butt into Courtney and Scott's relationship for no reason.
Chloe's like, I know Chris is up to something, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. So then after the party, I think Kim and Chloe and Caitlyn are all kind of like telling Chris that she shouldn't have been butting in with Courtney's relationship. But then Chris says that she knows that Scott has been cheating on Courtney because he went out with one of her friend's daughters when he was supposedly going out with Courtney. And so at that point, everybody kind of turns on Chris and is like, why didn't you tell Courtney then? Yeah. So Chris can't win. Oh. But so now Chris has to bring this up to Courtney, and she ends up telling her that her friend's daughter had gone out with Scott, and turns out it was all a big misunderstanding because Courtney and Scott, I guess, were not exclusive at the time that this happened, and Courtney knew all about it.
Courtney already knew. That's another classic sitcom situation. Yeah. Somebody thinks that they see someone cheating with someone else, but then it turns out that wasn't just them, or it was just a big misunderstanding. Yeah. So now Chris feels better about Scott, she tells us. Yeah. So it's going to be a real roller coaster ride between the Kardashian family and Scott Disick. As far as I know, right now, I haven't seen the 16th season. I have seen the first 15 seasons, but I do follow them all on Instagram. As far as I can tell, everybody's happy with Scott right now. Okay, that's good. I know I am. But Scott and Courtney are not together anymore.
They're not.
Though, right? But they've got 2 kids together?
Oh, no, they have 3 kids together. And I think are, from time to time, talk about having a 4th kid, even though they're not together. It comes up.
They're not with other people?
They are with other people.
But they want to have kids together? That's so weird.
It comes up. It comes up.
That's an interesting setup.
It is. But they are doing, I think, a nice job of co-parenting. I'll say they like go on family vacations together, even though they're not together.
Well, they're bajillionaires, so.
They are. Yeah. But that's a glimpse into the future for Kourtney and Scott.
Yeah. So the other plot that we got to wrap up here is we've got Kim preparing for her Tyra interview.
Yeah. So later, after the anniversary party, we see Kim in New York City. She's there with her best friend, Brittany Gastineau, and she's preparing for her Tyra interview, trying to pick out the right outfit to wear. I'm still nervous about having to talk about the sex tape. And then we see after the Tyra interview, like in the Tyra green room, where Kim is like relieved.
It all went well. But they couldn't get one clip of this interview.
Not one clip. It's like we've been building up to this interview and then we never see it happen.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it had already aired by the time this aired too. Yeah. It's not like they were keeping it under wraps for when it aired.
I actually watched this back and was like, did I miss the Tyra interview?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like we were going to get to that, and then it never happened. So
they should have gone on a channel where they can just get the rights, or whatever, because E is owned by this is owned by like NBC Universal or whatever. They could have gone on someone where they can show the clip or whatever. So but at the very end of the episode, we Kim has returned back home to her family, and they're kind of asking her what happened on Tyra, and Kim says, she feels really good about it. Tyra was very nice and welcoming and made her feel very comfortable. And she says about the sex tape, I'm not going to drag it on and let people be reminded of a negative thing in my life when I don't have to. Hopefully I'll replace it with a lot of positive things. And her family's all like, yeah, that would be good. And that's kind of the note we end the episode on. And I think Kim has accomplished that mission, because I don't think anybody, when you hear the name Kim Kardashian now, I don't think anybody's first thought is sex tape. Whereas I think it probably was back in 2007, because that tape had come out in February 2007 and the show premiered in October. So that really was what she was most associated with at that point in time. Yeah. And obviously the whole Kardashian family has gone on to like insane levels of fame and fortune. Well, Kylie was the youngest ever self-made billionaire. Yeah, I'm not sure how they're defining self-made, but okay, sure. But yeah, so Kim has also obviously achieved a lot of great things for, like for herself, but also, she talked here about like wanting to replace the sex tape with a lot of positive things. So if you want to look at positive things as being like positive things for the world, one thing she's doing now that I think is nice is she's been working to help people who are like wrongly incarcerated to get out of prison. She was in the news a lot recently for helping a woman who had been in jail for a long time get out. She actually worked with Donald Trump to do that. And this is something she feels very passionately about, and she's actually studying right now to take the bar in California and become a lawyer to help more people. Well, there you go. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Kanye West and his whole association with Trump and his kind of viewpoints there. I agree with you. I feel like Kanye West is the worst thing to have happened to the Kardashian family. But I do think it's nice that Kim is trying to use her celebrity to help people in this way. So good for her. Yeah. So we got to the end of the episode there. As far as this goes, would we recommend this show to people based on the pilot or based on the first episode? I would 100% would. I feel like it's so fascinating to watch. You really see how much times have changed. Sure. You get to watch this. One thing I think you have to give the Kardashians credit for is how open they've been with their lives. Obviously, they're getting a lot out of being that open because they've gotten so rich and famous from it. But
it's got to be hard to let people into like every single aspect of your lives. Like Courtney has definitely given birth on camera.
Oh,
I think Kim might have as well. But like, I mean, they really are opening up everything. I mean, Caitlyn went through her transition, very much in the public eye, which I feel like brought a lot of awareness and acceptance to the transgender community that might not have happened otherwise. So and we talked a little about Courtney and Scott's relationship and how, you know, they're not together, but they are like co-parenting together. So you do see like real issues. We also talked about Scott's demons. It's alcoholism. That they talk a lot about too. So I think that there is a benefit in seeing like real people live their real lives and just kind of helping people out there in the world to feel less alone in the things that they're going through. So I give them credit for that.
Okay. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend watching it, but I do think that it's on Hulu, and I think that the first season's only like, I think it was like 8 episodes or something. I think that it's not something you have to sit and watch closely anyways, but I think it's something that is worth a watch because I think it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
We were talking
how much
about
the times change and how much this family changes as they get more rich and famous.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier before we were recording how it'd be funny if they re-recorded the pilot episode.
Oh yeah.
But with just read it like a script or whatever, but with the current people doing it, like how they are now, like at their age, you know, like just redoing it. I think that'd be kind of funny. But yeah, no, I think that this first season, it's interesting. And, you know, I mean, it is kind of fun having reality shows that you can throw on. I mean, there's some that I don't even watch, but like if you have them on, I'll like listen, you know, I'll watch it. There's one, it must have been an E show. No, it's a Bravo show. What's the one with the interior decorator guy? Flipping Out.
Yeah,
like
that's
there was a
Bravo
while.
Show.
Yeah, there's a while where you were watching that and like I just kind of catch a glimpse here and there, and like, you know, you don't have to know all the details to kind of feel like it's a fun kind of genre of show to have on the background without having high stakes.
You do get invested in the people. They're real people, and you come to care about them.
Well, even if you don't care about them, though.
One thing, if you do end up watching the show, I'll say the second episode is an episode where Kim is critical of Chris as her manager and is kind of wondering if maybe she wants to change managers. That's the plot of the second episode. And I just wanted to say that is just an insane plot because Chris is clearly the best manager of all time. She was able to leverage, because as we said, she was like the person who worked with Ryan Seacrest to develop this show. She was Kim's manager and Caitlyn's manager at the time this show started. And Chris was able to leverage her daughter's sex tape into just unimaginable levels of fame and fortune for her entire family.
Yeah.
That is quite a feat. Like, I'm not saying that like the Kardashians like were using that sex tape as like a publicity stunt or anything. I don't think that that's what happened. I don't want to accuse them of that, but I do think she definitely like took the lemons and turned them into lemonade there, and was able to really work wonders for like getting control of that narrative and using it to her family's advantage and building an empire on it. So Kris Jenner for president of the universe, I'd vote for her. She's an incredible businesswoman.
You know, there's an episode of the TV show Happy Endings, which is also on Hulu, which aired on ABC, where not all the characters, like it comes up several times in the episode where the characters are reading Kris Jenner's book.
Yeah.
And that's a great episode.
Yeah.
That's what is that? The one where Was that the one where I don't remember? But that's probably the funniest episode. I'll have to look that up. We'll talk about that. Happy endings we covered on our very first episode of the podcast. Our pilot.
That is
It's no longer out there. I don't think,
it's
unless
not.
you download it.
Like a lot of pilots. It's hard to
it's
find.
our aired pilot that we deleted later on.
Yeah.
But some of you might have heard it. But. Do we have anything else we want to say about these Kardashians and their show?
I don't think so. I think that's it. I 100% recommend it. I love it.
100% recommends it. I thought it was fine. But, we wanted to do something different this week, kind of mix it up a little bit. It's the summertime, we're just, it's a holiday weekend. We had 4th of July the other day, it's a good time. And it's something fun that you could throw on. But, next week, we're going to be covering a show that is also one of your favorites.
Yes, it is.
But it's a more recent show. But it's the show I'm Sorry, which is on Netflix. Season 1 is on Netflix. It also is on True TV. So if you got cable and you can pull up the second season either on demand maybe or on their app probably. So there's 2 seasons of that out. But we'll be talking about I'm Sorry. But so you should check that out on Netflix. That's a fantastic show.
It's a fantastic show that I feel like nobody's heard of. Anyone that I brought it up to is like, I don't know what that is.
And then we show it to them and they're like, this is my new favorite show.
Yeah, which is how I felt when I watched it. So. Yeah,
so not how I felt about Kardashians, but definitely how you're going to feel after next week's episode where we cover I'm Sorry, which you can find on Netflix. So hey, this has been fun. A little different, a little mixing it up though. And I think that's everything, right? So
I think so.
Hey guys, you should follow us on Facebook at Yumia TV. You know what? Really, if you like us, follow us on Facebook. I feel like we have 12 Facebook followers, and it's all my friends. And Twitter at Yumia TV Pod. Instagram Yumia TV Podcast. We post some good content on there.
Yeah, that's where we really shine.
That's
on Instagram.
Well, I put some hashtags on there. And people come across it. That last week we covered Stranger Things. I got the little Sugar Ray mashup on there.
Oh yeah, that was a fun video.
If you want it, you can email us at yumiandtvpodcast@gmail.com. You just want to say hi, give us some recommendations for some shows we can do.
It'd be weird if someone just said hi.
It'd be kind of weird, but I'm not gonna turn away from it.
Literally just hi.
Yeah. If we get an email that just says hi.
What about oh hi?
Oh, like how they say in the room.
Yeah.
Oh hi.
I'd be so happy.
I would too. You know what would also make me happy? If you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I don't know where you listen to podcasts. Maybe you do it on Spotify. Maybe you just stream them on YouTube. We're on there. Maybe you have a good friend tape them on a cassette tape and listen to them in your car.
Yeah, if you happen to know your Apple ID, please give us a good review.
Yeah, give us a 5-star review.
Because I don't know mine, and if I did, I would give us a 5-star review.
I know mine, and I think I gave us a review. I can't remember. I didn't type in anything, though. I didn't type wow, this is the coolest show I've ever listened to. That host sure is handsome. They're like, what? But yeah, no, review it. It helps with, searching and algorithms,
it helps people
probably.
Find us.
Yeah, because if you found us and you like us, probably other people might.
Yeah, share it with your friends, just like we're sharing Keeping Up with the Kardashians with you.
Well, yeah. Well. Anyway, I you know what? I think that's just about everything. You know what? Hey, real quick though, a shout out. We're recording this on my brother's birthday, so shout out to Matt.
Oh, happy birthday,
Matt! I don't know when you'll hear this, but happy birthday. I also called you, so we said happy birthday, but here it is on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's fun. I know he listens, and I know you guys all listen because you're here, and we're an hour and 7 minutes talking about the Kardashians.
Thanks.
So thank you. So anyway, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Bye.